Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I'm Ann Harrison, the Dean at the Haas School of Business. Welcome to today's Dean Speaker Series. We are joined today by Sadhguru, founder of the Isha Foundation, yogi, mystic, and visionary. Named one of India's 50 most influential people, Sadhguru's work has touched the lives of millions worldwide through his transformational programs. He has been an influential voice at major global forums, speaking on socioeconomic development, leadership, and spirituality. Through the Isha Foundation, he has created a worldwide movement dedicated to addressing all aspects of human well-being. Sadhguru has also initiated several projects for social revitalization, education, and the environment, truly influencing others to go beyond yourself. Also joining us is Erica Peng, lecturer and career coach here at Haas, who will be leading today's conversation. Her course, Interpersonal Skills and Embodied Leadership, was highlighted in Poets and Quants as one of the best classes for 2018 MBA graduates. She's also an executive coach working to support individuals and teams to break free from unconscious limiting beliefs and behaviors in order to manifest potential. It was through Erica's suggestion, which we will hear more about in a moment, that Sadhguru was brought here today. So thank you, Erica. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Sadhguru and Erica Peng.
Thank you, Anne. Getting to this moment has taken between a year and a half and 2 years. So being able to stand here and look out at all of you and your beautiful faces, to be here together, I'm thrilled. I am beyond thrilled. And Sadhguru, so honored that you are with us. One of the many things I appreciate about Sadhguru is he's really funny, and he tells a lot of stories. Some of them are so funny I don't even quite get them. They're good stories. So in that spirit, I wanted to share a short story before I invite him up here, because it will give you a window into some of the events that needed to transpire in order to get Sadhguru here today. And I wanted to acknowledge a significant person who played a role in that. And that person is Susan Purcell. She's here today. She's my neighbor. And she's a long-time volunteer of Sadhguru's organization. So the other funny thing is when I meet people who know of Sadhguru, it's like we always have to exchange our Sadhguru stories. Like, how did you meet Sadhguru? Like, how did you find out about him? So this is my version of that story. So I started teaching 3 years ago, and the first 2 years, I was kind of in startup mode. I had taken on teaching 4 classes in the first year, which is insane. And I was iterating my design while I was teaching. The class was doubling. I was just stretched beyond capacity. And Susan was like a mom to me. She was a lifesaver. She lives down the street, and she would cook for me. She would bring me groceries. She would help me in my garden. She took care of my cat. And in my moments, my beloved cat, Daniel. And in my moments of stress and overwhelm, Susan was also a shoulder that I could cry on. And she would always keep encouraging me and affirm that the work that I'm doing is so important. In one of those moments, Susan suggested that I explore this daily practice that she'd learned from Sadhguru. And it was only 20, 30 minutes, and she thought it would really help me given I was so busy and so stressed out. So my first thought was, well, I have a daily practice that I love, and in fact, I teach about it in my class. My second thought was, Sadhguru. I'd heard her talk about him, and I'd taken care of her cat for 3 months when she was at Sadhguru's center in India. And I thought, wow, another Indian guru. Like, there's so many. And I am so busy, I can barely keep my life together. I don't have time to do my due diligence for a guru. How do you even do that? And she told me, well, but he's coming to LA and he's gonna do a training. He's gonna be there in person. And that's so rare because he's so busy. And I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna drive down to volunteer. So, will you come with me? And I thought, I just can't. I can't afford to take 3 or 4 days to go invest my time in this practice with this guy. So I thanked her. And fast forward, January 31st, 2018, I got an email from Jay Stowski. Many of you know him. He's a senior assistant dean of instruction. He's my boss. And the email had a link to a talk that Sadhguru gave at Wharton. And Jay had sent this email to myself and maybe a handful of other people who are involved with leadership here at Haas. And he was asking us, have you heard of Sadhguru? And is he someone that we should invite to have speak at Haas? And I was stunned. I was like, why am I getting an email from Jay about Sadhguru? Who is Sadhguru? What is he doing at Wharton? So whatever I was doing in that moment, I stopped and I thought, I need to watch this. I need to click on this link. And I was surprised and I was impressed by Sadhguru's eloquence. And more than that, he was saying a lot of things that I say to my students. And I thought, oh, wow, this guy's kind of legit. Like, okay, I relate to him. And I immediately then started clicking on some other YouTube videos, and I started doing my Google search that I had never really done, even though Susan had told me about him. So before I go on, I want to, for those of you who aren't so familiar with Sadhguru, I want to show a short video that will give you a sampling of what I discovered in my Google search that day, my 2 hours on the computer, trying to figure out who is this guy Sadhguru and what is he doing in the world.
In the next half hour, you're going to meet a man who has a devoted following across India and indeed around the world. Yoga and meditation are at the core of his teachings to promote individual growth. The work of the foundation covers conservation, education and health.
Action for Rural Rejuvenation is mainly aimed at rejuvenating the human spirit. This is an incredible movement that is started in Tamil Nadu, but the important thing is to bring the spirit of sport and revitalizing rural societies.
We started a mass campaign and 6 years I spent planting trees in people's heads. And now in the last 6 years we've been transplanting it, and that's happening much more easily.
From the age of 6, they're starting on computers, English language, because this is designed to get them out of a social and economic pit which they're trapped in. The Leadership Academy, we are looking at creating leadership programs for every kind of person. We've engineered the outside world in so many ways, but we've done nothing about this one. If you want to know well-being, in is the only way out. See, the only thing that I'm really good at is just this. I can just make the air around me just crackle with energy. Adiyogi is the source of yoga, the first yogi.
One truly remarkable thing that Sadhguru has done is, he has made yogis out of ordinary common people.
We're tracking a mammoth movement, an incredible rally starting from Kanyakumari, reaching up to the Himalayas, all in a month with the sole purpose of rejuvenating India's rivers.
We are launching a campaign called Youth and Truth in the month of September. This precious life, where are you going to invest it? What is it that will be worthwhile today and worthwhile after 50 years? You invest your life in that, this will be a life of fulfillment.
He has a different swag. He's kind of Buddha,
to us. Sadhguru has become this new friend of youth.
President felicitating his Sadhguru for all his spiritual contribution.
So that is when I decided to go to the April training. I took 4 days off and I drove down to LA. It has become my daily practice. I knew we needed to get you here, and it's taken almost 2 years, but please help me welcome Sadhguru to Berkeley House.
Cross my legs in house.
Please.
Because my brains won't work otherwise.
Whatever makes you comfortable. We could go on the floor if you want. You are doing so much in the world. I am so grateful. I don't know anybody else whose leadership has the expanse that yours does from the inner engineering training that you're doing, which is, my understanding, is the belief that in order to be effective out there in the world and to have impact, we need to get a handle on our reactivity and our compulsiveness and our impulse. So it could be easy for us to go talk about all the things you're doing in the world, and we're going to get there, but I really wanted to honor, I think, the message that you're putting out there, and I wanted to start with the internal realm. So I wondered if you could just share some concrete examples from your own life when you're out there at the national and global level. What are the moments that you're drawing on in terms of your internal state? Like, do you have a daily practice or multiple ones? And how does that work in your life?
It's my audio, okay? Hello? Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Oh, good afternoon. See, this question is coming from a certain objectification of a subjective nature. You're talking about where does it come from? That means there are many places. No, there are no many places for subjectivity. For objectivity, there is a hand, there is a leg, there is this person, there is that person and things that we do. This is objectivity. But subjectivity, there are no many places. And when you say in these global events, right now, if I walk on the street, springtime, wonderful, this is a global event. Why is only sitting in United Nations or economic forum or something like this is a global event? I walk on the street, for me it's a global event. Hello? Isn't springtime a global event? It's a very significant global event. This is the nature of an objective mind. Somewhere we have categorized as one thing more important than the other. The moment you do this, somebody becomes good, somebody becomes bad, something becomes beautiful, something becomes ugly, something becomes high, something becomes low, something becomes God, something becomes devil. This is the basis of how humanity cripples itself. The moment you divide creation, well, if you're breathing, you know this much, that what you exhale, the trees are inhaling, what the trees exhale, you're inhaling. Your idea of who you are, your individualism is just a psychological mess. It's a psychological case, actually. See, in this universe, in this cosmos, this very solar system in which we exist is actually a speck. It's just a speck in the universe. Tomorrow morning if the entire solar system evaporates, nobody will notice it. Yes, they won't, it's that small. In that speck, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, America is a super micro speck. In that super micro speck, San Francisco is a super micro speck. In that you're a big person. This is a serious problem. It is from this wrong context that people are looking at everything and making it so difficult for themselves. See, most human beings are capable of sitting in one place without anybody's help. They're able to suffer their own presence. Hello? If I'm with you and I'm suffering, I can blame it on you, it's because of you I'm suffering. If I sit here alone and I suffer, obviously bad company, isn't it? Without fixing this one thing, we are trying to fixing everything else in the world. It's like this, my hands are not clean, but now I try to clean your shirt, you know? So all the time this is happening, there may be good intention, but good intention is a very messy thing. More horrible things have happened on this planet with good intentions than with bad intentions. Yes, the so-called evil has not done too much bad things. It's people who believe they're really good people. They're the people who really cause maximum damage because we are good in a contextual way. Somebody is a good American, somebody is a good Indian. Good Indians are always fighting with good Pakistanis. Good Americans are fighting with just about anybody. It's like a menu, you can choose anybody every few years. Good Christians are fighting good somebody else, good Muslims are fighting somebody else. I'm saying, it is your goodness which is the problem, because your goodness is very contextual and of a limited identity. So the first and foremost thing that needs to happen within a human being is, as your life is, your mind and the structure of your psychological space should be complementary to the life that you are, in the sense, you may not be conscious, but right now if you think about it, you cannot exist here all by yourself. You're existing here only as a part of everything else, isn't it? You're just a small pop-out on this planet. You'll pop up and you'll pop out. Yes, before you and me came here, countless number of people like you and me have been here. Today they're all topsoil. Yes or no? So your existence here is related to everything in the universe. But your psychological structure is not related to anything. This is what human beings are essentially suffering. This is one dimension which is crippling humanity, like just completely crippled. Their intelligence just works around their identity. This is the nature of one's intellect, that it will only work around your identity. Whatever you identify yourself with, your intellect will fight to just protect that identity all the time. Now, one more fundamental is, our education systems… I'm sorry, I'm in a university, I know. I didn't go when I had to go, but now I'm coming these days. So, our education systems right from kindergarten have focused only on one dimension of human intelligence, which is the intellect. I want you to look at this. Your intellect cannot function without a memory bank, isn't it so? Hello? However intelligent you are, if you wipe out your memory, you don't know a damn thing. So essentially our systems of education are misunderstanding or spreading the misunderstanding that memory is intelligence. But today, with the advent of technology, you know, a small chip can hold more memory than your entire brain can hold. Well, in the next 5–10 years' time, artificial intelligence is going to come in a big way. My phone can do 10 PhDs in a day. Hello? Because having a memory bank assimilating that, understanding that and projecting it outside, a machine can do it better than you. So we have gone through this for almost like I would say 5 to 10 generations have already gone by, where we have misunderstood that memory is intelligence. This needs to change, otherwise you will feel like a fool when those little gadgets start doing things better than you. Already they're doing. In front of that Google lady, you're feeling like an idiot. Hello? Yes or no? Because she has more memory than you and me can ever imagine. So human intelligence is not limited to memory and usage of what we have gathered. What we have gathered is fine. We have gathered mass in terms of body, we have gathered impressions and memory in terms of our psychological makeup. What we have gathered is fine, we can use it. But right now, instead of using it, we have become that. This is where all the confusion arises. What I gather, I can say this is my cup. If I say my cup, this itself you'll wonder, what is the problem with him? Why is he claiming this cup is his? But if I say this is me, you will say, let's go. Hello? Because the moment I say this is me, you know this is a psychological case. Yes or no? Yes. Say right now, the food on your plate, it's your food. The moment you eat it, it becomes you. This is a case. Because we have lost the distinction between what is me and what is mine. They got mixed up. So there is no subjectivity in human beings. People think their emotions and thought are subjectivity. No, the material for your thought and emotion has been gathered from outside, isn't it so? Hello? It's objective. You can analyze it, you can compartmentalize it, you can use it, you can throw it around, you can do all this, it's very much an object. So, subjectivity will come only when intelligence which is beyond memory becomes a living experience for you. There is a dimension of intelligence within you which is unsullied by memory. This intelligence, if you access, life becomes a play. Say right now, you're just eating leaves these days in California. Everybody eats leaves. This leaf, within 3 to 4 hours' time, transforms itself into a human being, isn't it so? So there is an intelligence here which can make a leaf into a human being. If I took a leaf in my hand and turned it into a human being, who do you think I am? Hello? Huh? Creator himself, isn't it? Can't be anything less than that. Are you not doing this in your stomach every day? Turning a piece of bread into a human being, anything, just about a piece of carrot into a human being. So that dimension of intelligence, does it exist within you or not? The question is only of access, isn't it? There is Wi-Fi here. To access, you need a code. Otherwise, do whatever you want, you don't get it. The same here. There is a phenomenal intelligence here which is not about memory, which has nothing to do with memory. We must understand memory is a structure which is useful for our survival. We remember so many things. I know who is my friend, who is my neighbor, this, that, this, how to do all this. This is useful for survival. But memory, the structure of memory is also a boundary. Oh, this is my friend, this is a person I like, this is a person I don't like, this is my enemy, this is a good guy, this is bad guy. All this is in your memory, isn't it? Memory is also a boundary. The only boundary you have is the boundaries of your memory, please look at it. Yes or no? What I know and what I do not know. The only thing is just this, that you are differentiating between things that you know and do not know. If you look at it in these terms, even if you have read the libraries of this planet, still what you know is a minuscule compared to this cosmic space. Hello? Is it okay in a university to say this or you think otherwise? This is a minuscule. If you identify with this minuscule, you will become a minuscule because whatever you identify with, you become that, isn't it so? Hello? Whatever you strongly identify with, you actually become that. If you identify with this the tiny little minuscule of knowledge that you have, you will become that. So, in the yogic systems, we always train people to identify with their ignorance, because our ignorance is boundless, not bound by memory. Hello? It's not bound by memory. Memory is always a limited content. You can increase it, you can make it big, but still it is very small compared to what this creation is. Because as you sit here, everything is creation is either working for you or working against you right now, isn't it? Is it working for you or no? Everything is working for you. If you don't know this is what ecological disaster means. If all the worms die, all of us will die within a year's time. Worms. Yes. If all the insects die, entire life will disappear in a matter of 3 to 4 years' time. So, they're all working for us, and in some way we are working for them, all right? Everything is working for everything because this is not a transactional universe as business is. This is a homogeneous making. So if this homogeneity becomes your living experience, the way you function is different. Then it is your subjectivity. It is not a trick that you play with yourself, you get up in the morning and do something. There's no such thing. Well, there are practices to break through your limitations, but the important thing is you move from an objective division that you have caused with your intellect, because the nature of your intellect is to discriminate. Hello? Would you like your intellect… You must choose right now because I'm going to bless you. Would you like your intellect to be sharp or blunt? Huh? Sharp or blunt, you must choose? Sharp. So obviously it's a cutting instrument. So it's like a knife, the sharper it is, the better it is. So if you use a knife to cut something, it works well. Suppose you want to stitch your clothes and you use a knife. Of course you're in tatters. Is that the reason why everybody is walking around in tatters? I don't know. So, the more you try to fix the world, the more in tatters it is because you're using a sharp instrument to do everything. There are other dimensions of intelligence which are not of division, which are not of discrimination, which is of a deeper dimension of perception. If you use your intellect only, it is always clouded with your memory, there is no other way it can function. So, moving from memory-based function, which is always judgmental, from my memory, I know this person is like this, that person is like that. From where? From previous experience. That means I cannot experience anybody or anything the way it is. So right now, being in a business school means… a leader means essentially someone who is able to see something that others are not able to see. Because leadership naturally places you on a perch. If you are on a higher perch than other people and you don't see any better, you become an object of ridicule. This is the dangers of leadership. If you go and sit on a perch, you're supposed to see better than others, then everybody is looking up to you. If you sit up there and don't see any better than others, then you make a fool of yourself. So, sitting up there means that you're sitting above your own gathered memory and you're looking at life. It's like a captain of a ship, he doesn't do anything, the crew is working hard, all he does is he stares at everything. He's simply staring out. But if he doesn't stare good enough, everybody will drown. He doesn't do any work. The captain of a ship is always dressed well to be impressive, he doesn't do any work, all he does is just stares out. That means he's supposed to see better than others. What others cannot see, he must see. That's leadership. I'm sorry.
I was almost… I got permission to interrupt you. I was almost… but you stopped yourself, that was really good.
I knew what was coming.
So I want to build on that. Can you believe that? I'm going to build on that. I want to show a slide. Because I think what you're talking about is…
Why is it a headless butterfly?
I think what I'm hearing you say is, how do we see what we don't see? I think that is the question. I think that's why we have such problems today. We see what we see, we don't know what we don't see. So I want you to look at this photo, this slide, and what do you see? What do we see? So it depends on what you focus on, right? Some people see the butterfly, but some people see the faces in the space. So I think what I hear you say is we need to question what we perceive and what we see. But the problem is we didn't really learn in our education how to do that. There are certain assumptions we make that we take as truth. So I'm wondering, if we're talking about business and leadership, what are two or three of the key elements of the status quo of business and leadership today that we are taking for granted, that we're taking as truth, that we need to take a different perspective, a more systems perspective, a more holistic perspective? What would those two or three things be that you believe we need to really question and challenge and maybe transform?
So there are two dimensions to this. There is one thing is management, another thing is leadership. Management means it's just glorified housekeeping. Yes. The existing situations, you just manage. Existing situations may be large, small, something, you're managing it. Leadership means you're expected to see and create something that people are willing to put their lives into your hands because they believe you can make them achieve something that they would not do by themselves. That means you are going to open up a dimension for them that by themselves they would have never opened up. Only then people gather behind a leader. Well, elected leaders are different, but if leadership has to happen without effort, if leadership has to happen in such a way you don't freak every day, people should be seeing that you are a bigger possibility than they are. For their lives, not for your life. They must see by being with you, bigger things will happen to them than by being by themselves. If you open this possibility, leadership is a natural and effortless process. Otherwise, you're trying to be a leader. I think that's why I just wrote the poem of how a leader is a fool, because so much is happening in the world. Before human beings came, so much is happening. Is there a leadership? No, it is just a certain force moving this. I must tell you this, when I want to create something new, one classic example is the Rally for Rivers, where briefly it came up. In 30 days' time, we got the support of 162 million people. Never before another movement has gathered that kind of numbers. In just 30 days' time. In these 30 days, I was driving from southern tip of India to Himalayas, 9,300 kilometers. I personally drove. I was the only one without a spare driver, everybody else had a spare driver to drive. In these 30 days, I did 142 events and 184 interviews with the media. So literally, in those 2 months, probably I was covered, everybody with the media was saying, you've been covered much more than the Prime Minister of the country. This happened all in about 59 days. It has been on my mind for over 12–15 years, but I never articulated this. Only about 59 days ahead of the rally, I told the closest team around me, we need to do this. They said, Sadhguru, this is across the country, how will it happen? In many of these places we don't have presence, we don't have volunteers, how will this happen? I said, see, everybody who consumes water must participate, that's all. This is not whether they are doing yoga or no yoga, I don't care. If they're consuming water, they must rally for rivers. I said, how will this happen? I said, you just do this, this and this, it will happen. Why I'm saying this is, there is something called as human consciousness. Consciousness means just this, an intelligence which is beyond memory. That means it is not functioning from what you know, it is functioning as an exploratory mechanism. So once it is set in your consciousness, you don't even have to give instructions. Everybody will just do what I want them to do. People that I know and people that I do not know. Every human being is doing this to some extent, but there is not enough, what to say, cleaning up. When I say cleaning up, the nature of life is every day you pick up memories, variety of memories. Everything that you see, everything that you hear, smell, taste and touch and experiences, words, you are picking up memory. To stay clear of that memory, to be able to keep the memory sack aside, that is, your hand is not always dipped in the memory sack, just if you do this one thing, for which there are many processes that one can learn. If you just do this one thing, if you know how to sit here without being a man, without being a woman, without being an Indian, without being an American, you just sit here as a throbbing piece of life, you will see your ability to do life becomes absolutely effortless. Because you don't have to do life, you are life, aren't you? Hello? Hello? Are you life? If you are life, what is the difficulty of being life? Only that which is not life, if it has to pretend to be life, then it's very difficult. If you have to make a dead man walk, it's very difficult. Living, what's the problem? But no, living is the biggest problem. Everything is a problem. Toddlers have diaper problems and adolescents have hormone problems, midlife is crisis, old age is horrible. Tell me, when is it good? This is not because there is a problem with life. This is a problem of you not being able to handle your own intelligence. If you had the brain of an earthworm, you would be very peaceful and wonderful. Your own cerebral capabilities you're not able to handle, that's all the whole problem is. You know, you've heard of… you know about… you're in California, so you go by Darwin's theory of evolution, right? Hello? No, because our center is in Tennessee, so I'm just So, when you were a monkey, you did not desire to become a human being. It just happened. Nature pushes you on. This is very beautifully expressed by the first yogi. You saw his image, Adiyogi. When he was asked about these aspects, he said, the most significant aspect of being human is that for the first time of all the various levels of life that is there, for the first time, your evolution is in your hands. Whether you want to evolve forward, backward, what pace you want to evolve in, this is in your hands. This is the most significant thing that's been ever said about a human being, that your evolution is in your hands. If you want to evolve, become godlike right now, it is possible. You want to become a brute, that is also possible. Possible or no? Every day people are displaying both, isn't it? Yes or no? Every day people are displaying both. When your evolution is in your hands, then it's a tremendous responsibility. When you were a monkey, you didn't have these problems because nature was cutting your tail. Piece by piece, whichever way it went, all right? When nature was doing these things for you, it was okay. But now it's in your hands, it's a tremendous privilege. All the human problem is just this, because human life is such a big possibility, that's the problem. When there is a possibility and if you do not harness that possibility, that becomes your biggest problem. This is all the problem of humanity is. If there is no possibility, you have no problem. Suppose we remove half your brain, you will see there is really no problem with you, you're peaceful and fantastic. But no possibilities, that's all.
So tell us what we do then. Tell us what we do then.
See, I must tell you this. Can I lament a little bit?
Just a little.
It happened to me. I was, right from my childhood I've been a cloud of billion questions, always, questions, questions, questions. Nothing anybody said made any sense to me. The religious people, the political people, sensible parents, but still it didn't make sense to me. Because their sense is mortgaged to something. When you mortgage your sense to something, you are righteously senseless. Yes. Sense should not be mortgaged to anything, only then sense is true sense, isn't it? If it's mortgaged to your gender, your family, your race, your religion, your nationality, your sense is the most senseless thing, but you believe you're sensible. So, the significant aspect is just this. I grew up and slowly as I figured a few things and I became very successful with whatever businesses I was doing, I started really nearly half a dozen businesses in about 4.5 years and became very successful. Everybody was clapping their hands, far more successful than you would expect, most people in that time. Everything going great, you're young and you're doing what you want to do, everything fine, and I'm a very smart young man and cocky, going around.
On your motorcycle?
Yep. Because that gave the maximum freedom. I'm still on it. So, one afternoon, I just went up a small hill which is part of, this is a little hill in the middle of a town where if we want to test our motorcycles, we go up this hill. If you want to party, we go up this hill. If we fall in love, we go up this hill. If we fall out, we go up this hill. If we have nothing to do, we go up the hill. So one afternoon, between business meetings, there was a little bit of gap. Simply not even thinking about it, I went up the hill. So I know this place very well, I've camped here, I know this hill very well. So I just went and sat on a rock and suddenly I realized everything that I thought was smart was suddenly stupid. Suddenly I felt like an idiot of the highest order because I suddenly did not know a thing, but everything is assumption. Everything that you think is science, everything you think is social, everything that you learn from your childhood, it's okay for survival. But if you really want to know the nature of life, it is just all rubbish, you don't know a damn thing. So I just burst into an experience where if I sit there, simply every cell in my body was dripping ecstasy. Initially I thought I'm going off my rocker. Then I saw if I simply sit without messing, without dipping myself into my psychological process, everything is just absolutely fantastic and ecstatic. About 6 weeks later, I decided, I made a plan that in 2.5 years' time, I will make the whole world ecstatic. At that time, the population was 5.6 billion people. I really made a plan, in 2.5 years' time I can do because there's nothing needed. If people just learn to sit here, they will become ecstatic. If they just don't mess with the nonsense they've gathered in their head, everybody can live here ecstatically. But see, 38 years. Because people are committed to their miseries. People are, you will be surprised how deeply committed they are to their miseries. They think it is giving them some profoundness. Yes? Because their joy has never been so profound, their love has never been so profound, their peacefulness has never been so profound, only pain is profound. And there is a draw within every human being, knowingly or unknowingly, they're always aspiring that something profound should happen to them. They will fall in love, they will drink alcohol, they will take a drug, they will jump off a mountain, they'll do all kinds of things. Why? Something profound should happen, isn't it? Hello? A larger slice of life should happen to me. That's all the effort is. The man who is going to the temple and the man who's going to the bar, they're seeking the same thing. One thing sits in the bottle, another thing sits in the heaven. Same desire or no? Fundamentally same desire. The question is only, is it working or not working? Everything seems to work in a limited way, but next day you have a hangover of both kinds, you know This gives one kind of hangover, that gives another kind of hangover. The essential thing is just this, human experience is entirely generated from within you. Is that so? Yes. Your joy and misery can only happen within you, isn't it so? Did you ever experience joy out here? Of course, especially in the universities, it's being told love is in the air, all right? No, whether love happened or hate happened, joy happened or misery happened, agony happened or ecstasy happened, pain happened or pleasure happened, it happened only within you. Human experience can only come from within you, isn't it? So if you're talking about business, this means in some way, if you're talking about business, leadership, what it means is, in some way you want to manage and lead, let's say 1,000 minds. But first question is your bloody mind taking instructions from you? Hello? If your mind was taking instructions from you, if your thought and your emotion was just the way you want it right now, would you be blissed out or miserable? See, you may give this many names, like Erika was saying, I was stressed out. You call it stress, you call it tension, you call it anxiety, you call it misery, you call it madness. Essentially, it's just this, your intelligence is turned against you, that's all. Yes or no? Hello? Your intelligence is turned against you. The problem right now is, we are out to conquer the world. When your own faculties don't take instructions from you, how the hell are you going to conquer anything? If you conquer, you will make a mess out of it. Whatever we have touched on this planet, we've made a mess out of it, haven't we? Hello? Whatever we thought we conquered, we've made quite a mess out of it, isn't it? Only that which you could not conquer is still doing good. It could be your spouse, it could be your children You could not conquer them, so they're doing good. The moment you conquer them, they're finished, isn't it?
So you're going to take us all to that mountain?
It's not on a particular rock. It is just this. We are… When you're in school, you're opening up frogs and cockroaches and looking what's in them. If there was little bit in our education to turn inward and look what's within me, this entire thing would change. It's almost like we are not interested in human beings. If I look at the education system, I think it looks like this was structured by people who have no interest in the human being. They're interested in everything else in the universe except the human being. But right now, you must understand, you know the universe only the way it happens within you, you don't know any other way, isn't it? Well, science is proving to you in many ways that universe is not the way you think it is. It's not the way you see it with these eyes, isn't it so? Hello? In 1,000 different ways, we even thought the earth was flat. It took a long time to realize it's round, because it's not the way you see it. So, right now, this investment on the individual human being has not been made by education systems. If it doesn't happen at kindergarten, at least in a business school, I feel we should do that. We must invest. Why I'm particularly interested in business, why I'm spending last 20 years a lot of time with business leaders, top business leaders in the world and in all the business schools across the world, is just this. See, there was a time, 500 years ago if you look back, the religious leadership was the most powerful and influential leadership in the world. Then as the military machines got built up, the military leadership became the most significant leadership on the planet. When the democratic process came in the last 100 to 150 years, democratically elected leaders became the most significant and influential leaders. But a time has come, especially in the next 15 to 25 years, you will see it is the economic or the business leaders who will decide everything. Well, today, I know this is not a thing to speak in California, but a businessman has become your president without any political background. Yes? We always thought a politician means at least he must be a lawyer, he must understand the constitution, he must be this and that. Nothing, just running a real estate business and he becomes the prime minister, the president, all right? Because this is… anyway the world is moving in this direction that it is the business which will decide the future of this planet. So it is very important business becomes a sensible process, not a destructive process. Right now, there is an albatross around the business leaders that they are only for their own personal profit, they don't care a damn about humanity. This albatross has to get off, this tag has to go. We have to show business leaders are visionary in their approach. Business leaders are concerned about the well-being of this planet and the humanity and everything. This needs to be established. For this, something of that dimension needs to happen in our education, otherwise it'll not happen. Did I say something wrong?
No, no, I'm amazed at you. We met a month ago in LA to go over my questions, and Sadhguru wouldn't go over them. And he said, no, we don't need to go over them, but you like answered all my questions. I have one more question for you. On this note of where we are in business today and how we're on a destructive path. So we have a lot of leaders here. Some of you are about to graduate, some of you have just begun, some of you are in process. Given your scope and what you're doing, what do you see as the most pressing human issue that you are choosing to put your attention on? So we know, well, what direction should we be headed in? What should we be looking? What do you want us to see that we're not seeing?
See, when you say leaders, what you're saying is, a leader means somebody who has the opportunity to mess with other people's lives. Yes, sir? So when people are giving you this privilege that you can actually shape somebody else's life and their future and their destiny, is it not very important how you are? If you think what you're doing is important or significant, the most important thing is you must work upon yourself. I would say, this may sound extreme to you, but I'm telling you, the minimum you can do is, when you get out of an educational institution like this, at least you spend 1 month in transforming the way you are. Without this, if you touch the world, the more and more we get empowered, the more and more damage we will cause. See, we are no more what we were 1,000 years ago. What 10,000 men could do 1,000 years ago, today 1 man can do, isn't it? And women also have joined, so that's doubling the population. Only men were causing damage to the world at one time. Now women have joined the gang. Isn't it so? That is simply double impact. So what 10,000 people could do when one person can do, then how we even think and feel must change, isn't it? If you're a little ant, you can go, you can climb all over me and go. If you become an elephant, then please don't step on me, isn't it? Right now, each individual, the footprint has become so big. I'm not just talking about ecological footprint, I'm talking about the impact that one man can create or one human being can create is so big. When it's so big, then how we are is important. When we say how we are, essentially, if you sync your psychological structure, your mental structure with your existential nature, existentially, you're all inclusive, isn't it so? Right now, even if you hate the person who is sitting next to you, your body doesn't have problem inhaling what that person exhales. Hello? Existentially, you have no problem with anything in the universe. Only psychologically you have problem with this guy, that person, that person, that person, isn't it? If your mind is in sync with the nature of life that you are, everything is fine. You will be naturally in tune with everything that you create and shape will be in tune with everything else. Right now, the only problem that a human being has is that one person is trying to impose his psychological structure on the other person, and that person is trying to impose it on somebody else endlessly. We have these issues, people are talking about generational gap and this and that, teacher-student gap. No, there's no gap, it's just one person is trying to impose their psychological boundaries on somebody else and they are trying to impose on somebody else. This nonsense should stop. This is not the way to conduct ourselves. First of all, these boundaries are just existing only in our minds, isn't it? Hello? I keep telling in India, see, anyway, generally the winds are moving from westerly direction to the east, okay? It's moving west to east. So there is so much boiling in the country about certain things. I say, see, what Pakistanis exhale, you are inhaling and you don't die, all right? Because the wind is coming this way, what they exhale you're inhaling and it doesn't kill you. So actually there's no problem. Only problem is here, isn't it? The boundaries are all in our minds. This is not just about saving the planet, this, that. This is about enhancing this being. If this is a full-fledged being, this is not a psychological case, then everything that this one does will be in sync with everything else. We can, we can exist here in a fantastic way. Above all, human genius will unfold, genuinely unfold, only when there is no fear of suffering. That means you are joyful by your own nature, not because of something else. There's no question of you suffering. When there is no fear of suffering, only then human genius will truly unfold. Right now, I feel human intelligence is seriously crippled with all kinds of stupid assumptions they have made, positions they have taken. By birth, today they're even belonging to political parties, all right? In this country it's happened, it's beginning to happen everywhere else. This happened, can I tell a joke?
I love how you're asking me for permission. Thank you.
Because you are the professor, so… I didn't treat them well when I was in the university, now I'm learning. An old Republican was on his deathbed and suddenly he said, I want to join the Democratic Party. People were aghast, his family, how can you do this? Your father was a Republican, your grandfather was a Republican, we've always been Republican, how can you become a Democrat? He said, I would rather have one of them dying. I'm saying, even political affiliations have become by birth, all right? I'm demanding this in India, that political parties should not have membership. Every time people should decide which way to vote. It's just feudalistic. You're already decided. You're already decided I'm Democratic or Republican. This is feudalism, this is not democracy. Democracy means every time you see what they have done in this term, whether these people deserve another chance or they need to go. This is something people have to decide individually. That is the purpose of secret ballot. But it's already declared on my card, it is written, I'm a Democrat. Then what's the point of secret ballot, I'm asking? This is just tribal mindset. Tribalism essentially means you value boundaries more than openness, right? These days probably you have no such experience because all the dogs are on the leash. But if you leave the dogs loose, they'll go about peeing all over the place. Not because they have a urinary problem. They are building a pea kingdom. They're setting up their boundaries all the time. This is an evolutionary issue. This is why I said your evolution is by your choice. How, in which direction you want to evolve is by your choice, and this is the greatest privilege that we have as a species. We must exercise that. And today's business students are tomorrow's leaders, shaping the planet's future and the people's future on this planet, because the best thing about business is, a business person is… religious people are super prejudiced. My religion versus your religion just won't gel, all right? Nationalities against each other, endless amount of blood has flown in terms of race, religion, nationality, yes or no? Yes. But a business person essentially is willing to make a deal even with the devil if the deal is good. Hello? So this is a possibility. Right now it looks like profiteering, but this is a possibility, this can break all barriers. But don't make large companies into new religions, that's very important. That it should not happen on identity basis, that I belong to this company, because some of them are trying to build this, they have their own anthems. Some large companies in the world have their own anthems, they started singing their anthems like a nation. Some of them are doing it So, it should not become another identity. The best thing about business is, it is transparent, willing to go here, there, everywhere, wherever there is opportunity. This transparency we can transform into a consciousness rather than creating another level of boundaries. See, if you go by religion, if you go by race, if you go by nationality, these are all defined by boundaries. Business, I'm seeing it as a possibility because this is not defined by boundary. If you are selling, let's say, safety pin, what do you want to do? You want to sell it to all the 7.6 billion people, yes or no? Yes. In a way, this is unification of humanity. Hello? Yeah. Isn't it? I don't want to decide, I will sell my safety pin only to these two people, I will not give it to those two people. There's no such thing, I want to give it to everybody. So though this is oriented towards personal profit or whatever, this is a possibility to break all boundaries and create a different level of consciousness in the world, if only the business leaders of the future are more conscious.
Shall we hear from some of them? Should we hear some questions from them? So we have two mics, so if you want to, if you have a question, please come to one of the mics. We would love to hear from you. Maybe your name and
Hi,
who you
can
are.
everyone hear me? Okay. My name is Harrison. Sadhguru, I'm wondering, I always see you pulling your little robe up onto your shoulder. Do you not get tired of doing this?
No, I'm not always doing it, I do it only when it goes down.
Cordell,
I have
could
a question,
you…
but I can speak loudly, that way I won't spend 30 seconds.
Well, we want to make sure we get it on the mic, because it's
Please
being
bring the
videotaped.
microphone.
Can we
Can you
bring the
bring the
mic
mic?
over? Thank you. We want to hear your question.
I have a perspective I would like for you to comment on. I agree with the idea that business is kind of where we're going, and that takes me backward in time to when business didn't have all the labels, but I had corn, you had apples, and we traded. And you were better off because you had more corn than you needed, and I had more apples than I needed.
Mangoes and corn.
Okay, mango, that's good. And I actually like mangoes better. But the idea was the trade, and in the trade, we both were better off. And so the very nature of the business transaction was to increase human value, human appreciation of life, human joy, by giving to each other something of value. It has become, to me at least, In modern times, we've lost sight of that was the initial meaning of it. We've gone to profit maximization without concern for the value to the other. But I think if we hold the idea that we've always done business when we traded, and that we're just getting global and masterful at it, but remember that at its core, we're creating human value and concerned about the value we're giving as much as the value we're receiving. I just be curious about your reflections on that.
This is a certain phase that the business went through, that grab-and-go business. Grab-and-go business is the period of our history where the maximum amount of business was largely imperialist. You went to another place and you're going there only once, you grab and get back home, you don't care what happens there. That is the phase of imperialism, and that mentality continued for a few more decades or maybe a century. But today, that is changing. You need to understand, I think this language is still there. People think they need to be like sharks in a suit and they have to make a killing. This killing word I see here everywhere. Do you have the killer instinct? If you kill all your customers, after that what will you do? Hello? So I think that is on the way out right now, because companies have grown large enough and they understand that bonding with the customer is more important than killing him. Making a killing on one product is not a wise way to conduct your business, because tomorrow you still have to do business. But when business was done like conquest, we know this very well because the British came to India not as an occupation force, they came as East India Company. And they made a killing. Killing means, if I go into the detail, it's very bad. They made a killing. But then, when you make a killing, if I make a deal with you and I make a killing, this is the end of you and me, all right? If I want to continue my business, I have to think for you also. Because in any transaction, whether it's marketplace or marriage, unless it's beneficial for both the parties, this transaction will not endure. Yes or no? If any transaction has to endure, both the parties must benefit. So if you are a wise businessman, you will also think of the other side. What are they getting? If you don't ensure that they're getting something, then your business will close tomorrow morning. Today you might have made something, but tomorrow it'll close. So, that phase of imperialist approach to business, I think is right now on the way out. Slowly people are thinking of customer is important, how to service them, how to give them more and more things, how to give them free things. This is how large businesses are thinking today.
Hey Sadhguru, thanks so much for coming. I'm Ethan. And my question revolves around, so as you've explained, business has this fundamental self-interest that ends up driving value for others. And I think at the personal level, a lot of us will be more open to leading in a more conscious way if we also see it, fulfilling our self-interest. And so I would love for you to talk about some of the benefits that you've seen of conscious leadership and how that can actually transform an organization and how that leads to more business success, so that we can keep that in mind, when things get tough and we don't resort to our old stressed out ways, and know that it's actually going to help us kind of create value for people and build a better organization generally.
So when you say stress, essentially you start behaving in an unreasonable way. Hello? Behaving in an unreasonable way means whenever people do something that you think is not in line with what you think should happen, you give them a piece of your mind. You must look at this term. So I gave somebody a piece of my mind means you got really nasty with them. So why is pieces of your mind all nasty? Why isn't pieces of your mind beautiful? Why are they nasty? If you have a nasty mind, piece of your mind is nasty. If you had a beautiful mind, piece of your mind would be beautiful and it would be treasured by everybody, isn't it? This happened. Shankaran Pillai's wife lost her mind completely. Then the doctor examined her and said, she's completely lost her mind. So Shankaran Pillai said, I'm not surprised at all, last 15 years she's giving me a piece of it every day. So it must be gone. So if you start giving a piece of your mind every day, very soon you'll be half brain or no brain, isn't it? See, most human beings, right now, their way of being is determined by somebody else. People keep asking me, Sadhguru, all this variety of work in a day, the number of things and the variety of things I manage are insane. If anybody has to go crazy, I'm the first candidate because I work with volunteers. Over 4,600 full-time volunteers and over 9 million part-time volunteers, doing variety of projects around the world. Working with volunteers means they didn't all come out of Berkeley business school and they know what to do. No, nobody's trained for the job. Enthusiastic, but they don't know what the hell to do. And you can't fire them because they're volunteers. Try to work like this with people, you'll go crazy in 3 days. But I'll not go crazy because I have not given this privilege to anybody that somebody can make me happy, somebody can make me unhappy, somebody can make me angry, somebody can make me miserable. These privileges I kept to myself. This is all you need to do. This is what consciousness means. That means what happens within you happens the way you want it. What happens around you will never happen 100% your way. Little bit my way, little bit your way, little bit somebody else's way. This is the way the world will always shape itself. But what happens within me must happen the way I want it. If everything within you happened the way you want it, would you keep yourself blissful or miserable? Blissful, of course. So right now, the simpler way of approaching is just this. Now, I found ways, yogic system, I'm sorry, if I use that word, people think twisting and turning yourself, wearing Lululemon. No, the word yoga means this, the word yoga means union. Union means you consciously obliterated the boundaries of your individuality. This is yoga. You can sit here and do it, stand and do it, in your workplace you can do it. Essentially, you obliterated the boundaries of your individuality. That means you're breathing life. One important aspect is, right now education is seeing how to increase your memory, right? Knowledge means memory. But the yogic systems are always looking at how to enhance the life that you are. When I say life that you are, see, this is my body, that's your body. This is my mind, that's your mind. These things will never come together. Here and there, you can do little companionship and looks like mind has come together, you can do little sexuality and think bodies have come together, but this is my body, that's your body, do whatever you want. This is my mind, that's your mind, do whatever you want. Yes or no? But there is no such thing as my life and your life. This is a living cosmos. You captured some, I captured some, that's all. Now how much you capture, this will determine how significant a life you are. Right now, if you have big muscle, small mind and a smaller level of life force within you, you will see your body will speak always first. This was how humanity was for a long time because man's muscle was everything. Once the machines came, man's muscle went backwards. Right now, all these institutions are built to prove that man's memory is everything. But in the next 5–10 years, like how man's muscle went away, there was a time if you had big muscle, we would have made you the boss of this place. But today we will maybe keep you as a security person out there. We won't make you the boss. Similarly, if you have big memory, today you may be the boss. Once these gadgets come, which have more memory than you, your memory will not mean anything. So what will be the value? What will be the value of being human? Lot of people are worried their jobs will go away. They're inviting me to all these AI conferences. I say, why are you inviting me? I'm not a technology person, nor am I an artificial intelligence. They're saying, no, our problem is, what will we do? I said, you are the ones who said, thank God it's Friday. Thank God it's AI. If every damn thing is done by the machine, then what kind of a human being you are will become the highest value. Good times are coming. Hello? Isn't it? People with big muscle, when they were the leaders, world happened in one way, for everything they bashed. Even now, I think all your movies are like that only. The big guy is always bashing somebody else. Yes or no? Big guy, big fist or big gun is still dominating, though in the world around it's gone away, in the movies it's not gone. Now big memory is ruling, that will also go. So what will rule? Depends how conscious and how wonderful a human being you are, that'll become the highest value. And that is the most important thing, because you are the only creature that we refer to as human being. We don't call a tiger being, an elephant being, a grasshopper being, we don't do this. Only to you, because you are supposed to know how to be. How far away from truth are we? But if you know how to be, how would you be? Highest level of pleasantness for yourself, isn't it? If you are in a… have you noticed this? On a certain day you feeling wonderful and you are so wonderful to everybody around you. Another day you're feeling a little nasty within yourself, you give a piece of it to everyone. Yes or no? So this is the main problem. We have been trying to create good people. Good people have been a disaster. We need to create joyful and conscious human beings. When you're joyful, you're reliable, aren't you? Hello? When you're joyful, we can easily expect you will do pleasant things to everybody. When you're miserable, it doesn't matter how good you think you are, you will do miserable things to everybody. This is why good people have done more miserable things to everybody else than not so good people. They mind their own business. People who think they're not so good, who know they're not so good, they will go sit somewhere in one bar and drink themselves to whatever state they want. It's the good people who go and mess with everybody. People who think the highest level of goodness in people's minds is God, all right? People who think they're working for God, haven't they done the most horrible things on the planet? Yes or no? Hello? Still continuing to do, they are the people who are exploding because they think they're working for God. Because the moment you think you're good, it gives you license to do all kinds of rubbish. Goodness is not what we need. We need more conscious and pleasant human beings. If you're feeling wonderful, you're inevitably nice to everything around you, isn't it?
Yeah. I just wanted to… we have time for one more question.
Hello, Sadhguru. Thank you for coming here. My name is Vasuprada, and I'm a mom of 2 kids and also an executive MBA student. As a parent and as a leader, I want to follow up on what you said, passing on the limitations in your minds and the assumptions to others and influencing others, passing our limitations to others. And with every being in this world, I think the evolution is how we pass on the wisdom to the next generations, not just us, whether it's fish or goats or chicken or whatever, animals. We pass on the values, and that's what we do as parents in this audience. There are parents, there are leaders, there are teaching staff. As we pass on the wisdom, how do you suggest we consciously differentiate between passing on the wisdom and separate passing on those limitations and misbeliefs?
See, if the chicken, as you said, had passed on their wisdom to the next generation, they wouldn't be on your plate. Hello? Yes or no? They wouldn't be. They have not passed on. You must understand, nobody passed on wisdom. They only passed on certain skills. Skills are always about survival. Survival skills we've passed on. Nobody has passed on wisdom. You think so? Wisdom has been passed on? Wisdom never can be passed on. Everybody has to mature within themselves towards wisdom. Intelligence cannot be passed on. This happened. One day, Shankaran Pillai's 5-year-old boy came up to him and asked, "Father, where did I get my intelligence from?" Shankaran Pillai said, "It must be from your mother because mine is intact." Nobody can pass on intelligence. That's a genetic affair, that's different. Nobody can pass on wisdom. We can only pass on skills that we have learnt, isn't it? So that they don't have to go through reinventing the wheel. That's all we can do to the next generation. But there is a way, if you are conscious, there is a way that the next generation that you bring forth, even in the way you conceive and the way you do things, you can bring forth a more conscious being, it's possible. Well, that period has passed, already they're out here. So how to make them more conscious? Because being conscious means just this, that means you're not cluttered by things that you have gathered. Your intelligence is not dulled by what you have gathered. It's like this, you're Indian, so you cut a jackfruit at any time. Have you eaten a jackfruit, non-Indian people? You have? That's good. Otherwise you really miss something. In southern India, there are over 320 varieties of jackfruit. In the month of February, if you can come, there is a fair where there are over 320 varieties of jackfruit. You can taste to every one of them, you can find saplings, you can find everything for that. It's incredible. That's the kind of richness that nature has offered us. I'm saying a single fruit, 320 varieties, can you believe? So, if you cut a jackfruit, then the knife will gather something on it. There is a resin which sticks. The more it gathers, the more ineffective the knife will become, isn't it? So this is also the same. If your intellect is kept in your memory, it will gather memory in such a way that after some time it's a useless thing. For example, your mirror at home, let's say you're using a particular mirror to dress up in front of it every day. Suppose your mirror remembers 10% of what it saw in all these years. This mirror is finished. Yes or no? It doesn't remember a damn thing. Isn't it the best thing about the mirror? This is what consciousness means. It shows you life just the way you are, just the way it is. No any kind of mess-up. Psychological content and ability to see life the way it is. She was asking me, I'm going to ask you, what is mystic? I must tell you this, some time ago, they compiled a series of talks that I've given into a book and it came to me to give a title. I looked at the content and I gave a title of Mystics and Mistakes. I said, Sadhguru, it's too much up in the face, can you give something gentler? I said, see, this is all there is in the world. Those who see life just the way it is, without getting their genetics, their species memory, their genetic memory, their conscious, unconscious memories, but they just see life the way it is, they get labeled as mystics. Those who are making a mistake about their perception, they are mystics. Because their perception is clouded by their identity, their memories, so many things they have collected, because they have a mirror which remembers. If you have a mirror that remembers, it doesn't see anything the way it is, isn't it? So consciousness means just this, you make your intelligence unencumbered by the memory that you have. So you passing on something to your children is only skills. You cannot pass on wisdom. Did it ever happen that somebody became wise because of his father or grandfather? It doesn't happen like that. In fact, a very wise father can have a very absolutely idiotic son. But you can pass on some skills, social skills and other kinds of skills. All these skills will become… See, it was a big thing that your father taught you how to drive, but now driverless cars. I'm saying, you taught your child how to bicycle. Now there are bicycles where you don't have to learn to balance, it balances by itself. I'm saying all the skills that you transferred, which were very big affair in previous generations, are not going to be so big anymore. To learn ABC, to write. Just yesterday I was telling somebody, because my father's handwriting, because they grew up in those English… when the teachers were still Englishmen in India, and they wrote copybooks and copybooks and copybooks, they have to write like that. But in the next 2 generations, nobody will know how to write. Writing will completely go away. It'll be removed from kindergarten, probably in a generation or 2. Nobody will know how to write. If you speak, the machine will write. Right now it's writing in print, but if it'll write in whichever handwriting you choose. Isn't it so? Are we not very close to that? We are. So I'm saying, just to teach a child how to write was such a big affair. First 4 or 5 years of schooling went into copybook writing, but this will be gone. So the skills that you're transferring are only relevant in the times that we exist. If you were here 100 or let's say 1,000 years ago, you had to shoot an arrow straight, that was very important. Now you've never had a bow and arrow in your hands, all right? The main business of the parent was to teach how to use a knife, how to use an arrow, how to use whatever. It doesn't matter anymore, isn't it? Nobody ever taught you such things. So the skills that you're transferring are only relevant for the periods in which we exist. Nobody ever transferred wisdom. Don't be under that hope that you're giving wisdom to your children, it'll never work.
So, Sadhguru, I'm gonna attempt to wrap up.
Please.
And I'm gonna try to connect some dots and circle back to this. What I'm hearing you say is, we need to see and be aware of what we're not conscious of. And this is also for you. I think I'm gonna leave you with this. We've been trained in a system that has educated us to focus on the parts.
Can I say one thing? Because it's about leadership. The important thing about leadership is, you must be alert enough to find the loopholes in your intelligence. If you find the loopholes in your intelligence, then other people will think you're intelligent. But if you think you're intelligent, you've made a bloody fool of yourself. This is the fundamental difference between an intelligent person and a foolish person. An intelligent person knows how limited it is. He knows that he's a fool. An idiot does not know that he's an idiot. That's all the difference is. Because if you pay enough attention, a leaf, just a leaf on a tree is far more intelligent than you. Yes or no? Hello? The soil that you walk upon is far more intelligent than you. So if you pay enough attention, you will see, if you pay unprejudiced attention, you will see every atom in the universe is far more intelligent than you. And you feel like a bloody fool and you shouldn't tell anybody, but you should know. If you know this, you are constantly looking for the loopholes in your intelligence. The more you fill these loopholes, the more effective you become in the world. Sorry.
At least you know when you're interrupting me. I think why that's difficult for us is we have not been trained to think in that way and see in that way. So what I want to leave you all with is, how do we retrain ourselves to look at the whole system and not just see the obvious things and the concrete reality that we've been taught to focus on? How do we begin to see the relationships and the connections between the parts, not only in ourselves, but with each other, and the world that you're talking about, the soil, the trees, these costs to our lives and the way we're doing business and leadership that we are not aware of or thinking about. That was my attempt of translating a little bit of what you said. But I want to end with something I shared with you this morning. This was something that Sadhguru wrote years ago. He said, "Where did you get that?" And I got it from Susan. And Sadhguru said, "Yeah, let's close on this." So this is from Sadhguru. "To all of you who are my flesh, blood, breath, and being, what has happened to me should happen to everyone. What we are striving for is to create an eternal springtime in all minds and hearts, so the eternal blossom of enlightenment blooms. My greatest fortune in this world is you. Love and grace." Sadhguru. Thank you all so much.